Hello, everyone. Looks like we're live. Looks like I'm here. Feels like I'm here, at least for the moment. I see Deb and Deb are here. Her and her, me, myself. Oh, all right. So I better say this right at the top. Anybody who's watching this in replay, if you came just to get right to the topics, just scooch that little bar in about 10 minutes ish. And I should be getting into the topics right there, right then, right about that point, because I like to come on 10 minutes early. That seems to work really well for several reasons when we're talking about a live. It gives people time to be reminded that there's a live coming on, get notifications, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes just come in and chat, say hi. Maybe I've got a couple announcements I want to make and I want to get those out of the way before I get into the actual topics. So please be patient if you're watching the replay. So hello. His sweetie. I don't even know if I know what your real name is, but I can imagine you probably don't want to share this on here. If you've emailed me before, I'm sorry and told me your real name. But then again, I might accidentally say it, not knowing. Maybe you don't want the whole world to know your real name. So yeah, anyway, one of the things I wanted to say right off the bat is this morning, I always check into my different social medias, just see if there's any messages, anything going on. Sometimes family interacts with me more on Facebook and sends me messages there rather than text me. All of the above, right? So I happen to see a community post for our area from a young woman whose 13-year-old son went missing yesterday. And last I saw in the updates is they still don't know where he's at. And, my heart just breaks. I mean, I know how much I worry about my adult children, but you got a 13-year-old that just up and disappears. Did he run away? Was he kidnapped? Who knows? I mean, who knows? So anyone out there who would like to say a quick prayer for these people, I'm sure they would appreciate it. I would appreciate it that he's found safe and sound and his mom can have some peace. And I can imagine it's got to be terrifying. And I mean, I kind of started crying for a couple of reasons because this is that you've heard me talk about this a lot lately. This whole people get online and can say the ugliest, meanest things. And I don't know anything about this lady. I'm assuming she's maybe a little older than my own kids. And I don't know what her political stance is. I know nothing about her. But some absolute insensitive jerk came in there into the thread and said, this is what happens when liberals raise their children. And I was just shocked. I mean, my jaw literally dropped. I mean, I'm not just saying that as an expression. I just literally was like, I couldn't believe anybody could say something like that from any side to anyone. And first of all, it was an absolute assumption. And because I'm pretty sure this person doesn't know them either. Because I saw somebody else say they are not liberal, but that doesn't matter. And, so people from, some that I know are liberals and some that are conservatives were coming in and taking a stand. And I noticed when I looked last at that comment was gone. So I don't know if the guy realized he was being a complete moron or if somebody else deleted it. But I replied to it too. I said, this is absolutely shameful. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about is how can somebody take such a serious and heart-wrenching thing and turn it into something so ugly. I mean, and this woman saw it, of course. And boy, she was pretty darn upset about that. And I don't blame her. So it just kind of shows you the state of the world. I mean, as a more conservative person myself, I have watched conservatives just totally badmouth liberals for being so wicked and evil and hateful and mean. And some of them absolutely are. But I see the same exact thing from the conservative side. What kind of example is that? I mean, it's so crazy. It's the whole plank in the eye thing. So anyway, it just it breaks my heart in so many ways because people like that make all the rest of us look ugly, just like people on the other side. I say other side, even though I don't try to be on one side or the other, but it is a given that because of my beliefs, I am definitely going to be more conservative. But it's people like that that make other people from whatever political belief, religious belief, or whatever look bad. And then nobody wants any why would anybody want anything to do with a group like that? And you can't blame them if that's what they're seeing. And, it's just disgusting. And then I had a woman the other day come in and say, "How come how is it you can call yourself a Christian when you don't call Jesus by his real name?" I wondered when somebody was gonna come in and say that. I have a lot I could say about that. But, there's a lot of names that are common across the whole world that in different languages, it's the same name, but it's pronounced differently. Don't we think that Jesus would want everybody to be able to know who you're talking about? So I could go on. There's a lot more I could say, but I will say this that I've heard enough Hebrew names pronounced and looked, not even trying to study the language at all. And I can tell you it is the same name. Let me break this down real quick. Okay. So when you hear enough of these names pronounced, there's a few grammatical things or linguistic things or whatever you want to call it that become obvious. S's are typically a soft sound like sh. Okay. J's, so we're looking at the English letters, right? J's are pronounced yeah. E is pronounced a. Okay, so and if an S is at the end of a word, usually that's because it's in its more Greek or even Latin form, it's silent. So in Latin, Jesus is Jesu. In It's pronounced very similar in Greek, though the spelling looks incredibly different. In Spanish, the J makes a sound. So Jesus. So in Hebrew, that S in the middle is going to make a sh sound. Yeshu. I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. But regardless of what you believe, to attack people and accuse them of not being a Christian or whatever, because they don't pronounce it the way you do, is disgusting and a terrible example of your faith. So, okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that. I'm not going to go on anymore. But I'll say, well, no, I'll say one more thing. The reason I continue when I'm talking to people, especially people who speak English, to say Jesus is I want to make sure people understand who I'm talking about. And most people know this. Okay. So I'm going to keep saying that. I'm not going to be bullied or pressured into saying something the way somebody else wants to say it, just like the people that want to bully me into saying herb instead of herb. I'm not going to bully people from the southeast that say humble instead of humble. That's the way they say it from wherever it is they're from. Okay, there's a pastor I like to listen to every now and then that says humble. The H is silent. Most people pronounce honest, air, as in HEIR, uh, honor, hour. These all start with H's that are silent. So why do people get so angry about the word herb when the etymology is from the Old French, ERBE, and even though the French modern version has the H added to the spelling, it is still silent. But I'm not going to bully people from the UK for saying herb. I'm totally fine with that. That's the way they say it. That is what is right. And not all areas around the UK pronounce the H. A lot of them drop it because of the etymology. Anyway, so is it time? How much time do I have? It is time to start. So let me get into the topics and I will get off my soapbox, at least on that for the moment. And I'm glad to see Tyler made it in. And who else is in here real quick? Hello, everyone that's coming in. Thank you for your prayers for the young man and his family. I really, really appreciate that. So anyway, so I got to read this. Attacks over pronunciations is just a prideful chest bump of I'm more righteous than you. That, yes. Okay. For reals, for really reals, people. Don't distract me. No, I don't care. You guys talk in the chat about whatever you want. So the first topic of today, there's two of these topics that are going to go hand in hand, and it is prioritizing your spending habits. So this especially applies to things like when you're really, well, it applies to whatever your situation is financially. So if money is tight, obviously you're going to have to prioritize. But if you're trying to get out of debt or you're trying to save money to purchase a piece of land, or you're trying to put up for hard times, like building your food storage and putting in different infrastructures for gardens, for collecting your own rainwater or a well. I always forget to talk about wells. Wells are real things. And, and if you have the ability to do that. Now, we can't do that right here where we're at least not legally. And I'm not even sure about on the other piece of property. But these are all things that we might consider doing, or even getting a wood stove that's a multi-purpose off-griddy kind of thing that can handle a lot of jobs during a power outage, be it long-term, short-term, doesn't matter. So I need water already, man. It was that soapbox that dried me out. I'm sure of it. So let's start with, I was listening to this lady, and now I feel bad because I can't remember the name of her channel. I just kind of stumbled across her. She had this, she was covering all these different frugal type points, etc. And some of them I couldn't agree with, but I understood them. But one of the things she mentioned is about how when we think we're doing good financially, when we budget our money so that let's say we're paying all our bills first, and we're being diligent, and we're making sure and responsible, we're making sure that we're getting those bills paid. Then whatever's left over goes into savings. Well, she brought up a really excellent point. And I guess I've never really thought of it this way before. I have in a sense, but I really appreciated this. And what she said was, you'll find people who prioritize their savings first, set aside an allotted, pick an allotted amount of savings. Now, this will apply to paying off the debt. So, that's kind of what we did when we decided to start paying down the debt on our house. There was a certain amount I was determined I was going to pay every month, and then anything extra I could throw on there if I found out I could. I would, but I definitely at first allotted a certain amount. I actually don't even remember what that amount was now. But the same thing applies with savings. So let's say I'm going to put aside 100, 200, $500 a month. That should be done first. Get that put in a safe spot or get that invested in your food storage, etc. Whether it be, having envelopes or cans or something that you have marked and this money's for this money's for that, etc., etc. Um, and then what happens is, I mean, this just makes perfect sense. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to look at your budget. What is your average? I would say, what is the lowest amount of income that you have in a month? Typically, the lowest. Like when you have a channel like mine, it can go up and down. I mean, right now it's staying pretty much right down here, but there was a time where it was up here. And you never know from month to month what exactly it's going to be. It could suddenly drop down to just a few dollars. And so I have to be prepared for that. But that's why I say that. Sometimes your monthly income can be a bit variable, especially if you're a business owner of any kind. And I've been a business owner for, well, since I was 22, 23 when I started teaching dance. That was my first business I got going, and then the martial arts, and then we've had other businesses. And so, yeah, income is variable. So if you can at least have a base and know, okay, what is the least amount I'm likely to make? Take that and then break it up and then set that savings right at the top. That savings, that principal payment, that whatever it is. Get that where it needs to go first. Then what will happen is you're going to find that all the rest of your bills, I mean, obviously you have to decide whatever this top amount is based on what that income, that lowest possible monthly income is. And then make sure that you can pay all these bills. But then once you have that set, you're going to be less likely to, okay, so you've paid this amount to your principal, to your savings, to your different funds that you're trying to save up money for. And now you're going to pay all your bills. And then if anything's left, sure, either put more of that in savings or spend it on something else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that and a little joy now and then. But what will happen if you go the other way, the way that we most likely are going to think is a responsible way, let's pay all the bills first. And then whatever's left, we'll put into savings. Well, what tends to happen with a lot of people is, I mean, I used to be this way when I was much younger. Whatever's left over, I can buy myself some clothes or whatever. I might have had an idea to save it, but I usually ended up wasting it on something rather than being more forward thinking and planning ahead. With the extra buy ice cream, that's what Mr. Rain would say for sure. Or at least buy the heavy whipping cream, etc., for making the ice cream. Since we haven't bought ice cream in a while because I've been making it now. Oh, so good. But I try to even limit how much of that I do. Let's see. Most 30-year mortgages can be paid off in half the time with only a $50 payment increase each month. Wow. See, I wish we would have gotten to that same mindset at a much younger age. It was mostly me. I was more the spendthrift. I mean, I was frugal in a lot of other ways, but then I could nickel and dime us to death. So, and there's some extra money. I'll buy this pair of jeans or this blouse or this for the kids or something. Help. Let's see. Okay, sorry, just checking on any other things. But anyway, I that's an interesting tip, Tyler. Thank you for putting that in the chat. So, of course, now mortgages and I don't know. I mean, are they being extended out to like 50 years, some of them? And if people go with this, and I've seen this with car payments too, I remember when it used to be 60 months? So 5 years. Now they're extended out to like 6, 7 years, and the payments are even bigger. And these people are gonna end up paying 3, 4, 5 times as much for that vehicle if they don't try to pay it down and put money on the principal. My husband and I funded IVF treatments and surrogacy, making a $50 70 fif okay, excuse me, let me read that part again. 50 to 70K household income by being intentional with our money. See, that's the thing is being intentional is an excellent way to put it. Intentional and persistent too in the way that you're looking at ways that you can save money. So anyway, that was the number one thing I wanted to say because I thought it was an excellent tip and I don't recall ever hearing anyone put it that way before. Hello, Holly. Holly Hawk. Let's see here. Let me get my glasses on and read. You guys, look at this. No, you can't see the light's too bright because I write with a pencil because I have to erase a lot. I don't use pens. So you can't even see it, but this handwriting is terrible. I'm just trust me on that. Okay. So anyway, that was point number 1. And point number 2 I added to this was figuring out where you're hemorrhaging money. Because this is something that, well, I think everyone all through the ages has probably had this issue, but I think it's especially bad now. I think we're far more likely to be hemorrhaging money, and I say it that way because of the way it's happening. Because we can have money just going places and not even realize where it's going or forget. So, in this day of subscription services, everything, a lot of times people will sign up for subscription services and not even realize they've done it or forget about it and never use it. And so this money keeps going out, keeps getting drawn out of their accounts every month. And I know that there's like different apps you can get that can, I don't know if they're free or not. Hopefully they are, but that will go through. I guess my son tried this because he was trying to figure out, okay, where's all my money going? Is there something I'm missing? And it will find all your different subscription services and then ask you if you want to cancel these. And so that's what he did. And he canceled a bunch of things that he had forgotten or didn't realize he had to really cut back and save some money. And so that's why I word it that way. But for those of us who aren't big into a lot of subscription services, then maybe it's just okay, let's take a step back and start writing down what did I spend, kind of like, when people talk about finding out where all your calories are going when you're trying to lose weight. Okay, write down everything you ate today and then take a look at it and go, "Oh wow, I ate that? I didn't know I ate that. Wow, I consumed a lot more calories than I thought I did." You'll find that you'll very likely do the same thing with your money. And so once you're able to find the source of the hemorrhage and stop it, you'll find that now you're going to have more money that you can then put on the principal, put into savings, put towards building your food storage and your garden and your farm and whatever it is that your desire is to help get yourself into a better position all the way around. Or like I said, saving money to buy a piece of property, uh, you know, so that you can expand. That's what we did down here. The other 2 pieces of property we've purchased since I've had my channel. It was saving money, and then when the right piece came up and we had the cash for it because we refused to go back into debt for anything, bam, we had it. We had the funds, there's cash. And that just worked really good. Of course, it helped that our house was paid off by this point, so we didn't have that monthly payment. But every payment that you can, you might think well, this is only like $5 a month or $20 a month, but that adds up. And if you have a whole bunch of those going on, just like that I always say this, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one, but it's always one of the ones that comes to my mind because it shocked me and I realized how much money people spend on coffee stand coffees every day or every week or every month. I mean, I used to think, okay, maybe people get like 5 total in a week, one a day. And those things can range anywhere from 5, I think 5 is cheap now. I mean, I'm guessing some of them are probably up to $10. I don't know. I've bought a couple years ago just for the heck of it, just to try it, and I'm like, "Okay, that was okay," but I still don't understand why everybody's so dependent on buying these things when you can just make something similar at home. But, or going out to eat. For a lot of people, it's just a habit is what we do, especially if you got both people working outside the home and no everybody's too tired and exhausted, and that's another topic I want to cover at some point is being a one income household and how you can even today there's reasons why it's much harder to make it work today, but I still strongly believe you can make it work when you start looking at all the money that you spend when both, especially if you're parents and you have young kids. Are you having to pay daycare or, some kind of childcare for those kids? Are you having to eat out because nobody has time to cook or buy a subscription service like HelloFresh or something? Because at least that's the next best thing to, is kind of that step between eating out all the time and then actually cooking from scratch. Um, but these are the things that, we got to really kind of look at and say, what can I cut and where is this money going? And maybe sometimes you just don't even realize where all your money's going. And it's a matter of just kind of breaking things down and just saying, okay, let's cut the fat. I mean, one example I have is we had, I think you guys remember we had those Real Link cameras and we were all excited about them. The company gave us both those cameras for free. They gave us one, and then down the road, they came out with a new one and gave us another one. And so our reviews on them were honest. We really liked having those. And the program worked really good. The downside to that is that we had to pay to our cell phone service. We had to pay extra to have those as part of our cell phone plan. And I thought they were each $10 a month. So it was a $20 a month thing. And it's like, okay, I mean, that's nice. But I mean, it's not nice, the $20. But the nice thing is having just knowing I can check those cameras at any time wherever I am. But eventually, both of those cameras stopped working, which I should probably remove the Real Link videos because for whatever reason, they both just stopped working. And it was really sad because we enjoyed having them. But honestly, I kept forgetting about that money that was coming, that was being charged on our, that was included in our T-Mobile bill, which is why we switched from Verizon to T-Mobile because we couldn't get that to work on Verizon. And we got a better deal. I mean, it ended up being about the same price for Verizon for 2 phones as it was for T-Mobile for 2 phones and the 1 camera. And then the second camera ended up being a little more than what we were paying through Verizon. So it was like, it was justifiable. Well, it took me a long time to finally, well, I did try to deal with it. I was having issues logging into the account because I couldn't figure out where I put all the information. Then I found it. I finally found it. And I was able to call them, give this security code that I couldn't find, and was able to remove both of those cameras from there. And I was thinking, oh, okay, now I'm saving $20 a month. Well, it actually ended up being $30 a month I was saving because the second camera, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but I was sure it was only another 10. It was another 20. So we were paying $30 a month for these 2 cameras, and I paid that for months before finally getting it removed. Months, what I mean is months after both the cameras stopped working. And I'm just really kicking myself for not taking care of that sooner. Sometimes it's just a matter of remembering. You just you forget. And oh, yeah, one more thing I got to go take care of. So, yeah, getting on top of that stuff. Let me read a couple of comments because it looks like there's some good stuff coming in. Let me scroll up a little bit. Okay. Going into debt with credit cards is a big problem with a lot of people. I think it's much bigger now than it used to be. So many don't think they have to work within their budget. I've with all these, I've been watching a lot of these different channels that talk about financial stuff and the way people are spending money. And it just kind of shocked me how people are, I think I said this last week, going on vacations, not even paying any attention to how much money they have, how much money they're making, or how much money they're putting on their credit cards. Because it's like, you only live once. That is literally the attitude. And they have no idea how they get back. They don't have any clue how much money they spent. Man, when we would go on vacation, it was like watching every penny, allotting a certain amount. And, some for just splurging, some for fuel, something, and we didn't do anything fancy. The fanciest thing we did was Creation Fest for a few years, which, was like a 3 or 4 day event, something like that, where you went and you got to listen to a whole bunch of Christian bands and speakers and camp out. And it was a lot of fun. It was something a little more wholesome we could do with the kids. Really enjoyed that. And to me, I was scared because it seemed like such a massive expense. Looking back now, I'm like, that is nothing compared to what people are paying to take trips to Hawaii and to Disneyland or Disney World, which we never have done any of those. And not dogging on anyone that has or does, but especially any of the Disney stuff, I think it's an absolute waste of money, but personal opinion, nobody get mad at me. Let's see. What did that say here? God doesn't use a pencil. He never makes mistakes. He doesn't need to use a pencil. Let's see. We use our credit card to pay everything. We get a small percentage of using the card and we pay it off every single month. Same. We do the same. And you've got to be able to really pay attention to your spending. Don't spend the money. I know Deb knows this, but I'm saying this to anybody that's listening. It's like, oh, I can just use my credit card for anything. If you don't have the willpower and that money isn't already in your account to pay off whatever it is you decide to purchase, no, don't do it. The money has to be there because otherwise it really is debt. We use our credit card to buy pretty much everything we can for the same reason. And we've had that same credit card for I don't know how many years now and have not paid a single cent in interest. But what you'll find is any of these credit cards where you get a percentage back like ours, and then we cash it in and it goes on whatever's, when I go to pay the bill, I'll let it build up for a while. And then when I go to make my payment that month, I'll look and see if there enough in there to bother with it. Oh, cash that in, have that go on the bill, and then pay off the rest. And I do that at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. For a while there, I was doing it like every week. Now it's just like, okay, as long as I do it before interest gets tagged on, that's what's important. And take it down to zero every time. And then that way, yeah, it's just another way you can actually earn some money while you're, so that does work for some people, but it's not going to work for everyone because not everyone has the willpower to do that. And some people should never have credit cards. Let's see it. Hello all. I just arrived in. Do I do budget? Should I actually use oxygen absorbers? I'm guessing it's supposed to be in my dehydrated eggs. No, absolute no need to waste your money since we're talking about budgeting and money. Don't waste your money on oxygen absorbers. If you can vacuum seal your jars, you're better off investing in a brake bleeder pump for $20, $25, a couple of food saver lids, one for regular mouth, one for wide mouth, which right now I think is like $15 for the set. Vacuum seal your mason jars. Okay. If you don't have that option, then you can vacuum seal them in food saver bags. I just stopped using all that, but that is an option. As long as they're vacuum sealed, you don't have anything to worry about. There's no need for oxygen absorbers. It's just another unnecessary expense. The only place that they're, and I think I talked about this last week. The only place that they're even necessary at all are, I'm not going to say necessary, possibly helpful is if you're sealing up in Mylar and you don't have a good way to vacuum seal the Mylar, you can toss an oxygen absorber in there, but I have ways around that too. So, yeah, so I talked about this in last week's live. Let's see. I know there was a couple more I wanted to read here. Let's see. I've been to both Disneyland, Disney World, full deal with total access to all rides was under $50. Really? Really? Because what I've heard, I mean, man, you could pay $50 for a doggone lollipop there now. I might be exaggerating, but some of the food is like, I guess some of it's good. I guess some of it's just kind of, you could get something just as good anywhere else and pay a fraction of the price, just because they put Mickey Mouse ears on it or something. But yeah, anyway, so see, I keep a notebook and write down all weekly expenses. Okay, so that actually was my third point before I finish off this topic. Is I did a video on this several years ago, but some of the things in there are going to be different than what's on there now. So here's a blank. Oh, you won't be able to see it. The light's too bright. Can I hold it up? No, you can't see it. So what I have here, I don't know, maybe you guys can see it better than I can. Actually, it seems like it stands out better, but I have this just on my computer, and then I have it divided up into 4 parts so that I'm only using a quarter of a piece of paper every time. And then I just print this off, and I usually try not to print off too many at a time in case I need to make any changes. But I used to have like the amounts typed in here so that when I printed off, those amounts were in here. But one by one, I eventually just started taking them off. And the reason why is because things changed. Just like for the phones, that price is different now because I was just saying it's $30 less than it once was. So this is where I keep track of the bills. I put a check mark when I paid them. And when the payment has come through, I then scratch the whole thing off. And then over here is, I have checking written down, but the number I put here is only the number that is going to be after whatever I want to keep saved in the checking account. And then, the amount I have coming in from YouTube. The funny thing is I don't include the amount of Patrick's retirement in here. It's just silly. But his is the same. Well, that does change too. But anyway, and then I'll have like my total bills and then my balance and see what's left over. And I always like my balance to be whatever's remaining to also be a certain amount extra to cover any added expenses. And then I like to have all this extra space down here. Like I'll write the month that I'm in, and then down here there'll be bills that I'll write in bills that are once a year, twice a year, such as property taxes are once a year. Oh, this is the month I pay the property taxes. Write that in there. This is the month I pay the auto insurance. Write that in. And we don't do month by month payments on any of this stuff. We pay a lump sum and get it done. And typically what you'll find too, especially like with insurance, if you can pay that lump sum, the whole thing for the whole policy period, you're typically going to get a discount. I didn't used to do it that way back in the day. I paid month by month and then was paying that little bit of service fee every month. So there's another way you can save money is if you can get yourself to a point where you're just paying that lump sum and get it out of the way, then you're saving a small percentage. And those, again, the nickels and dimes do add up. And then I do have miscellaneous too. And usually that's where I write in, okay, so this charge, this charge, this charge. Now I know that there's also this coming in, and that's where I put the miscellaneous, yeah, certain expenses that came up, whatever it was. Like we've got a family reunion, gathering coming in August, and we needed some new lawn furniture for out there, a new tether ball, because our other the other tether ball is just destroyed now because we don't remember to take it down every year. So, at the end of the season, things like that. So we're preparing for that and just kind of getting things fixed up. And so, okay, it's a little added expense, and I write that in. Keep track. Having a monthly or weekly ledger will help keep you on track and always keep checking that thing. I don't check it every week like I once used to because I pretty much know where I'm at. And then I have another ledger where I have my totals of how much is saved. And then even this little notebook, the little pocket is where I keep these things. And this little notebook is what I use as for when I do have to write checks. It's my checking ledger too. I don't use the one that, they used to give you with your checkbooks. This works better for me because I have all this in one little notebook. And once I work through this notebook, it's going to take me a long time because I don't write a ton of checks and I have a lot of blank pages. And I found this little notebook at a garage sale. But once I work through it, I'm going to have to get myself a new notebook because I love the size of this. It's just perfect for me. But anyway, and then having a little pocket in there, I love that. Now, that's just the way I do it. And I just spit all over the computer again. It's a good thing you guys have a screen to protect yourselves. Anyway, that's just actually the budgeting like that was something I started as soon as I left home, maybe even before I left home and went off to college. So I could always keep track and make sure I didn't forget something important. And how, especially those bills that are, like I said, the property taxes and things like that aren't monthly, you're more likely to forget those are coming up. And so a lot of times, so this is another reason why I like having several months of these printed off at a time, and I'll write in the months. I just printed these off. That's why they're totally blank. And I can go ahead to, okay, this is the month this such and such thing is due, and write that in. And that way I'm not surprised when it comes up. You're in the splash zone. But again, you have that protective screen. I use the credit rewards to pay off. Yeah. I leave the balance until it can pay a monthly amount. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of do, do something like that and just, yeah. Yearly things like glasses, license plate renewal, or whatever. Right. I divide up monthly in envelopes so I have the total amount for a lump sum yearly payment. There you go. Good plan. I really appreciate you guys throwing in all your little tips. So people who watch us in replay and get to see the chat. You know what? I forget that they have the chat where the chat you have to select before you start the live show. And I keep forgetting this. So when people are watching this in the replay before it fully processes, they can't see the chat until after it's done processing, which is not, I found it takes like 12 hours for some crazy reason. I don't even know why. So anyway, that's it for that topic. Did I ever do my greeting? I don't remember if I did my greeting. So I'll probably do, in case I didn't, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So if I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but I have to have something because people, when I make my separate videos, there'll be somebody that will be like, what happened to God is good? Don't you believe that anymore? Come on, people. Of course I do. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And we're getting into topic number 2. And where is it? It's on this opposite side. And pencil, sloppy writing, and bad eyesight means I definitely need my glasses. And this next one goes hand in hand with this. And I've talked about it a little bit before in another video, but I wanted to kind of go a little more in depth on this particular topic, and that is when saving money doesn't save. So you think you're saving money, but you're not really saving money. And that, you know, the most common thing, especially today, is buying cheap garbage because we don't, we want to save money, and buying cheap garbage can in the long run end up costing you more because you're constantly having to replace that product. So there's certain areas where and for each person it's going to be a little bit different. What you're going to prioritize is this. If it's something that I'm going to rarely use, or I'm not worried about wearing out, I don't mind it being cheap because it's not gonna matter. Let's see, did I write some of these things down? Let's see, like some t-shirts, I pay a little bit because I don't like fake fabrics. I want 100% cotton, which is getting harder and harder to find, but I don't mind them not being, super expensive, because if it's shirts for work, working around the house, well, I'm gonna get them stained anyway or caught on something and tore, just like Patrick, and I can repair that. I can cover up the stains or eventually turn it into t-shirt rags. The important thing to me is that it's 100% cotton, but I don't mind going a little cheaper in cost. What else? Yeah, I didn't write any other specifics down, but yeah, things that are only gonna get used occasionally, but is good to have on hand. So I'm not worried about it wearing out. I don't mind paying less for, but when it comes to shoes, and this, I think everybody should look at it this way. Not everybody has the size feet that can just run down to a secondhand store, which we do have a thrift shop, one, but finding shoes to fit my little feet that are not kids' shoes is incredibly difficult. And I will buy kids' shoes a lot of times, but this is the one thing I've learned. And though I'm currently wearing kids' shoes, and I tend to forget about this, is if you have little feet and you buy kids' sizes, even if it's a quality brand shoe, one of the reasons you're paying less for it isn't just because it's a smaller shoe. It's because typically a lot of brands will not put as much into making them last longer because they're for a kid. They're gonna outgrow them. So I bought years ago, I found a pair of, oh, I forget, Romeos. I don't know if you guys know what Romeos are. In a kid size that looked practically brand new. I was like, "Oh, these actually fit me," because I think they were a size 3. I'm like, "These fit me." I was so excited. And kids, they don't usually wear their things out before they grow out of them. So I bought these things. I was wearing them. I was just so excited. Patrick and I went for a hike. I think this was after I started my channel too, because I remember that was the year we found some chicken of the woods in our little hike. And I think we might have been looking for something specific, or we were just trying to get out and get some fresh air and exercise. And I wore those things and I was so excited to wear them. By the time we got back, and we weren't gone that long, the soles were coming off of these shoes. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought these were supposed to be really high quality shoes. So when I ended up having to throw them out, I was really bummed. I think I used shoe goo and glued them back together, and they lasted okay for a little while, but eventually they started falling apart. And I was talking to the shoe lady down at our one big store, and she said, and I told her how disappointed I was, and she goes, "Well, it's because they were kids' shoes, and kids' shoes aren't made to last the way adult shoes are." So that's one of the issues I have. And this is why, for me, when I found those Merry People boots and they actually fit me, though they could still be just a tad bit smaller, they're good enough. I want something that's going to last, and I am going to have to pay a little bit more because for me to thrift for shoes, and find the right size and the right style. It's near impossible, especially in our small area. We don't have a Goodwill. We just have this one little thrift shop for our little bitty, very remote town. And so, yeah, so for me, it's going to be more cost effective for me to go ahead and buy some quality boots that are going to last me a long time. And honestly, as much as I love my Kizik's, the ones I wear around the house, I'm on my second pair for my around the house shoes. And because my other pair just totally wore them out. But I wear them all the time. I'm hard on them. And I'm on my second pair and they're starting to wear, but I still love them because I can slip in and out of them easy. But the adult size pair I have that are too big and kind of sloppy on my feet, but they're the boots that I use for mucking about in the backyard and around the chickens and through all that mess and the mud. I love those things for that because I keep them outside. I can slip my feet into them totally hands free. And those are definitely, they get well used as well. And same thing with the adult size leather sneakers I have by the front door. Again, a little too big for me, but for what I'm doing, I don't mind having that little bit of extra space. I'd prefer if they fit better, but the adult size ones are definitely lasting longer than the kid size ones. I mean, yes, you pay less for the kids' shoes, but it's just like anything else. A lot of when it comes to shoes, if you're paying less, your quality is typically going to be less. And I can tell the difference in the quality of the adult size ones and the kid size ones. And to top it off, the Kizik's, their their prices are just skyrocketing. And they're now to get something similar to the Merry People boots that I got, they're far more expensive. Because somebody was looking at saying, I can't afford those boots. I have to look at something a lot cheaper. And it's like, I understand that. I really, really do. But for me, that was cheap compared to what I was seeing in the Kizik's. The bad thing is that I can't just slip my feet into those Merry People boots. They're the Bobby boot. I love them. I can slip them off hands free, but I can't just slip my feet into them. So I'm glad I do have those other Kizik's. I have a backup pair because I bought a second pair. And I'm glad I did that because now they're way more money. And those will last me a long time because the ones I'm using, I don't even know how long I've had them now, but the ones I'm using outside and for the front, especially, I've had those even longer because I have one by the front door, a pair by the back door. They're two different styles, but I wear them a lot. And they're lasting me, and it might be forever before I need that backup pair that I got. Because that's the thing too, is that when you find something that's built quality and it's going to work, and you know this is right for you, it's an investment to go ahead and buy that backup now because several years from now, it's either A, not going to be available, which was the reason why I bought that second pair of the slip-on boots for the back, is because I seen how fast those styles would go out of style. And I need something that's going to keep my feet dry when I'm stomping around in the puddles, but I can easily slip in and out of because I constantly have my hands full. So, yeah. So I'm glad I bought those. And at the time, I wasn't thinking about the price skyrocketing. I was thinking about they might not be available in a month. So I'm really glad I did that. And then the Merry People boots I got for, even though I could use those for the gardening and stuff, I use those. Those are more for going out and doing anything else where I'm going to be out there getting wet and having to stomp through puddles and mud or just wanting to just, because they're a multi-purpose boots. To me, they look cute with my skirts. They keep my feet dry. They've got a good rugged sole. I could use them for hiking. I can use them for whatever. And even though I only went in that puddle up to just below the neoprene, I forgot about that fact that little insert on the side to make it stretch when you pull it on, it's neoprene, so it's not going to leak. I could go clear up to just below the top of the boot and my feet would stay dry. So I didn't think to say that in the video review I did. But again, just to let you guys know, I am not an affiliate with them. They didn't ask me to do that review. I did it because I'm happy with the boots, and I figure a lot of people probably seeing ads for those, like, I see tons of ads for them probably because I stopped and looked at them once, and now I've bought some. I still wouldn't mind buying another pair or 2 for the same reason why I bought 2 pairs of those Kizik's a while back. Anyway, so yeah, so the point is quality over cheap. Um, this is where saving money can end up costing you more and you're not saving anything. But again, it's good that you got to look at, okay, what item is this going to matter? You know, when you're buying automotive parts, when you're buying vehicles, when you're buying kitchen appliances, you don't want to have to replace that refrigerator or that washing machine in a year. You want something that's built like a tank. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I got the Country Living grain mill back when it was half the cost it is now, is that thing's built like a tank. It's built in the United States. It's built in my own state. And I know it's going to last me a lifetime. I think the only thing I can see ever wearing out on it is the belt. And that's the belt that's hooked up to the motor. Well, I can always turn it by hand if I had to, but I'm sure Patrick can find another belt. And but the mill itself should last me forever. There's no plastic parts on it whatsoever. There's a wooden handle. Everything else is like, I think it's cast iron. It's a heavy thing. But yeah. But I'm not going to tell people you must run out and buy that, even though I can give you my Amazon affiliate link. It is so expensive. So find what you can afford and what works is important, but do your reviews on that. And I mean, I haven't heard much about it lately, but I used to hear a lot about the Wonder Mill. Assuming it's still a good mill. I saw something, I didn't watch it because it doesn't apply to me since I have a mill that I'm happy with. But I saw a video by someone I've never heard of because I swear every day there's new homesteading channels I've never heard of popping up. That they did a review. So I don't know if they had all of these different grain mills, but comparing a lot of these different grain mills that were more affordable than the Country Living. So I point that way because obviously it's right over there. Okay, let me see what else. I only had a couple points in this particular topic. Was there anything else? Oh, flashlights. I've decided flashlights was another place where it matters because I was thinking, oh, wow, $10, 10 flashlights. Cool. In a month, half the flashlights don't work. So how much money am I saving doing that? It's a lot better that those little $20, I love those little ones I did a review on, the Olight brand. We love those things. Oh, and here's something. Right after I decided to do this topic and was taking notes, that very day, Patrick, I bought one for him. He loves it. He uses it all the time. Well, I threw his work pants in the wash. I kept hearing something scraping on what's in there. So I stopped the washing machine, get in there. I'm like, I sure hope it's not his flashlight. And I'm digging down there and I find a set of keys. Okay, it must have been the keys. No big deal. But then I hear more scrapey. I'm like, I already dug around down there. I didn't find anything else. It's probably just the buttons on his work pants because he wears the suspenders, so he's got the suspender buttons on there. And then I had a couple of hoodies in there that had zippers on them. So that's probably all it is. Guess what? It was the flashlight. But guess what? It went through that whole wash and it was a long wash. I do everything on the longest wash. That thing still works. So a $20 little mini flashlight, far better than paying $1 a piece for flashlights that aren't going to last. And so very, very, very happy with that. Even more so now. And I'm like, this happened at the perfect time. So anyway, I think I might have that in my Amazon store link. I don't even know if my Amazon store link is in this channel's description box. It might be. I don't know if I've gotten that far yet to remember to get it in there. Okay. So, 2 more points on this, on the when saving money doesn't save. Just to remind you what the what the base topic's about, and hopefully I'll try to get to comments here in a minute. Um, okay, buying unnecessary things because they are on sale or they have a coupon or they're items that you've thrifted. So again, I know I've talked about this before, but um I don't know if guys are this way as bad as us ladies, but if you're I know I was really bad when it came to clothes, and I was um garage sale and I saw something cute and I buy it. I mean, I will admit my garage sale fine clothing, I typically liked better than anything I bought brand new, even if it was on the sale rack. But you see the sale rack, oh, what's on sale? This shirt is only $5. Guess what? You might end up only wearing that shirt a couple of times. And this can apply to anything. I'm using clothes because I know back in my 20s and 30s, that was me. I wasn't a complete clothes hound kind of person where I had to have all the in style stuff, but I did like cute things. And I also liked saving money. And so, oh, this little $5 cute little hoodie or t shirt. I mean, it's only $5. I can afford this. And I'm saving money because it's only $5. No, you're not. You just spent $5. That's not saving money. That's called spending money. And sometimes we have to change how we look at things. And thrifting is another thing I love. I haven't been able to go garage sailing in forever, but a lot of times you're looking for stuff that's going to help, and we found some great items, cast iron, things that I use all the time, and oh, so much more. So much more. I've done videos of this on the past. I have videos on some of my favorite secondhand finds. But I've also bought stuff that ends up just taking up space and needing to be dusted. Some of it is because it's cute, like those little chicken canisters that are good for absolutely nothing but looking cute. Little hand painted chicken things, jars. I've shown them before, but I'll get in the video I make out of this. I'll make sure to put some images in there. They're so cute. I'm still glad I have them, but that's the kind of thing. It's like sometimes I don't remember what I paid for them. It wasn't much, and they're cute. I'm still glad I have them, but there's things like that that I have bought that I'm like, why did I get this? Just because it was only 50 cents at a garage sale, that's not saving money. It might only be 50 cents, but I still spent 50 cents. So there's that. So yeah. And then the third point is, okay, again, let me remind you the topic when saving money doesn't save. Making it yourself. I love doing a lot of things and making a lot of things for myself, and so does Patrick. And it can save a lot of money. But what I'm finding more and more, especially when it comes to making clothes, I usually, like for making my skirts and making certain other things, end up spending more money to make it myself. Some things I'll still do that because I can customize it to suit me. But when it comes to making a flannel or a t-shirt, because I was like, I should get into making my own t-shirts. You start looking at 100% cotton knit fabric for making your own t-shirts, you're realizing it's either going to cost you as much to make it yourself or more. Okay, I'm just going to buy it, because even if the cost is the same, if I can buy it and not have to make it, now I'm saving that time that I can do something else or build something else. Here's another example. Patrick has been so much more busy lately. So many things to repair and fix and build, that I get to where it used to be I'd say, "Hey, would you mind making me this?" Like he's made me sock darners, and that kind of got into people wanting to buy his sock darners and things like that. And I love these things. I don't do that very much anymore. And I really I've always just taken my chicken's eggs and I stick them in baskets. I have 2 baskets. When the first basket gets a dozen in it, I set it aside, start filling up the second basket. Once it gets a dozen in it, that's when I have 2 dozen. That's when I wash them. My problem is I wanna put them right in the cartons and have them ready to sell, and didn't think about this at first, but I wanna get them out of the sink because I don't wanna forget about them, because 'cause I'll forget about them in the sink, and then people go in there and wash their hands, and then they're getting wet again, soap on them and dirt and whatever. So I'm like, "Okay." I started putting them right in the cartons, but what do you think happens when you put a wet egg in an egg carton? The egg sticks inside the carton. And then you could end up breaking the egg if you're not careful trying to get it out. And I'm like, I can't keep doing it this way. But I know if I walk off to let these eggs sit here and dry in the sink, I'm going to forget about them. So I'm like, I need to find some just little racks for holding eggs. Could I have asked Patrick to build it? Yes, absolutely. However, time is also money, and he is busy. And I found that I could get 3 cute little wooden, I mean, I still had to put them together myself, egg holders, 3 dozen, so it'd hold a total of 3 dozen eggs, so that I can set those, and they're really cute, and I could set the eggs in there after I wash them so they can dry in there, and then I can go put them in the cartons. And I think I paid like $25 for the set of 3. Now, could Patrick have possibly made it for less? As far as the actual financial cost, maybe if he has, the right wood. I know he could make them. I know he could build these. They are definitely within his wheelhouse of skills for certain. If he could make all this other stuff I've got around here, certainly I know he could. However, his time is worth something too. And it's like I told him that, I thought, I'd already bought them. And I said, "Yeah, I think I paid $25 for those." And he's like, "Yeah, how many hours would I have been in the shop when I could have been doing something else?" So for his time, the amount of time that would have gone in there would have been, probably $100, $200 worth of time, if you were thinking an hourly rate that, he could be possibly getting paid doing a job for someone, or just getting something else done that would save us even more money. So that's what I'm talking about. And so sometimes you got to look at some of these different things. Are some of the frugal hacks that you do actually costing you more money? And some of those frugal hacks might actually be worth it to cost, or frugal, quote unquote. What I mean is the make it yourself things, even if it does cost more, can still be worth it, because what are you, like making your own bread or making whatever, you're making something healthier. So sometimes it is worth it, even if it does cost more, because if it's, you got to look at anything that's going to cost you more to get better care of yourself, wearing natural fabrics, eating healthier foods, is saving you money in medical care. That's how I look at that, in the long run, getting the organic, non-GMO stuff. I don't mind paying a little bit more, because I look at the fact that we're not on any medications, and we went off of the thyroid medications that we were both on 14 years ago. And I just think, even though thyroid medication is pretty inexpensive compared to a lot of other medications people are on, and there's new ones coming out every day, still that adds up. How much money in the past 14 years have we saved on not only the medications, but the constantly having to have, well, not constantly, but every so often they're wanting, we got to do a blood test to make sure you're still getting the right amount, and then that they charge you an arm and a leg for a blood test. So yeah, I think it's really paid off, and finding ways to just live healthier so we don't need the medication, and finding the different herbs and cutting, getting rid of the fluoride, and yeah, it's worth it all So there's a give and take no matter how you look at it. You just got to decide, okay, where's the best place for me to cut, and where are the places that it'd be better for me to spend a little bit more for the quality. So those were the three main points in that topic. Now I'm going to read some comments and then I will go on to my third topic, assuming I'm still here. I feel like I'm going on a lot longer than I expected. Let's see here. We always buy bulk spices. Yep. For just a few times more than buying less than an ounce, you can generally buy 1 pound bag. Exactly. Or do you mean like a few cents more or a few dollars more? I remember the first time, I think I shared this not too long ago. The first time I went with a friend to Costco, gosh, this was a long time ago. And she had a Costco card. So she invited me to go with her. And, I was having to buy the little 1 ounce jars of spices because that's at the time all they carried at our local store. And I go in there and they have a whole pound of spices for the same price as what I was paying for one little ounce. So I'm saving 16 times. I mean, I was paying 16 times more buying that spice locally. And so it's like, wow, in just one shopping visit, I could have my Costco card paid for. So I got a Costco card shortly after that because it paid for the whole year in just one shopping trip. Now we don't get in there that much, so I'm not sure how much it's worth it. I mean, anything we do Costco related is usually online now, and there's not as much to choose from. So, but yeah, whenever I'm trying a new, even if I'm trying something, but buying any kind of herb or spice I have to buy because it's one I can't grow. I always buy in 1 pound packages. I never go smaller than that, especially if it's something I know I'm going to use a lot and very regularly. Nice thing about herbs and spices is they can last pretty much forever as long as they're dried. Let's see. Farming can make you a small fortune. All you need is a small farm and a large fortune. Exactly. Yeah, remember I was saying last week about the chickens? Then that's just chickens. You can put a lot of money and time into getting your infrastructure in place just for chickens to make sure they're safe and blah 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 blah. So how much are those eggs really costing me? I don't know, but that's one of those things that it's worth it to me, especially when there were no eggs at the store or the cost of eggs had doubled, quadrupled. I have eggs. It still costs me money to have those eggs. I have those chickens, but it's worth it in so many ways because the chickens give back in other ways too. They till up my gardens in the off season. They help get rid of the slugs and they provide a lot of joy and enjoyment. And of course, they give the eggs and the fertilizer. I knew there was one more really important thing I was forgetting. Fertilizer for free. And it's all natural and organic and non-GMO because I don't feed them any of that stuff. So I g- I don't think I'll be able to read all of these. Well, here, okay, I gotta see this. How to double your money. Take the money out of the wallet, fold it in half, put it back. Want, want, want. Let's see. Deb says, I used to tell Mike, I got it on sale. I'm saving you money. His response is always, why did my bank account go down then? It's still money spent. Can't put a price on homegrown for health and benefits. Right. Okay. There's a lot more comments I would like to catch up on, but I have one more topic that should be quick. This isn't related to the last two. I wanted to do those two back to back because this is kind of its own thing. But this came up recently, and Deb's gonna know why. But well, it's not because of what Deb said, but it reminded me that this was one of the topics I wanted to cover. And it was somebody was yeah, okay. So somebody was asking me about she they're saying that, well, I believe that chickens are lactose intolerant. I can't remember why they said that. Was I talking about anything? I don't really give my chickens much dairy. Every once in a while, if I'm okay, I love cheese. Maybe if I have a piece of cheese in my hand, I might sneak a little piece to one of my ones that I'm trying to butter up, like that young, cockerel that I might keep. Oh, that one I can tell he's going to be beautiful. Might sneak out there. Okay, can I get him by himself? Because I'm trying to get him to really like me, be nice. Give him a little piece of cheese, but normally I'm not that giving with the cheese. That's a that's a precious commodity around here. So at any rate, I'm not sure why they brought it up, but they were bringing up the fact about, they thought that chickens were lactose intolerant. And so I had never heard that before. In fact, I had just seen a video of somebody feeding their chicken some whipped cream. I don't know if it had sugar in it. I'm assuming it didn't. It was just whipped cream. The chicken was loving it. And I'm like, I just thought I'd heard you got to be careful not to give them too much dairy. That's all I thought I had heard. So I was looking it up and didn't find, and I found that people had asked that same question. And several different places. No, chickens aren't lactose intolerant. They love milk, and it can be, dairy products can be good for them. You just don't want to give them too much. But that goes for anything. It's like when I was looking up, are the rye grains safe for the chickens? I assume they were, but there's a lot of those different kind of things that, because they're a stickier grain, you want to make sure you're mixing it in with other types of grains that they can have, because it can kind of build up. And that's where you have to be careful not to give them too much, but it can also still be healthy for them. And so I think Deb was saying that, I think I brought that up in a this and that, and Deb was saying that when she first looked up that and some other things, she got all this information, then realized it was all from AI and it was false. And ever since I disabled the AI, once I realized the first thing that pops up is always going to be AI results unless you disable it. And you can disable that. Do not trust AI for your information. And a lot of times you might not even be realizing that's what you're reading, because they're so sneaky. The way they set that up now on every browser, I believe, it's going to always be the first results of something that has been AI generated. And so, thanks, Deb. Oh, I have a thyroid playlist. I have a whole playlist. And once you realize that and you look closer, you'll see whatever their little symbol is off to the side. And it's going to be different for each browser, because each browser has its own AI generator thing. But I don't know about all browsers, but in Google and DuckDuckGo, is it Google? I don't know. I never use Google. I really don't. I use either Start Page or DuckDuckGo. Those are my two go-tos for searching. And in both of those, you can actually disable the AI. And it's usually you have to, like, you do the search, and then right at the top, you should be able to find a little settings, a little cog wheel, and you can click on that and go in there and you can select. There'll be a drop down menu, and it'll probably be worded differently for each browser. But somewhere in there, you can say, sometime, AI results sometimes, all the time, and never. And then you can just disable it entirely. Now, on my computer, on both browsers, completely disabled. However, I have on my phone, I have it, I have tried on the browser here. I had to go to DuckDuckGo because I don't think I could disable it from the Safari. You can disable it, but for some reason on the phone, it always re-enables every so often. And so I don't do searches on my phone very often, but sometimes there's something else going on the computer. And so, like, maybe we're watching something, because we watch through the computer up onto the big screen. And then I'll think to look something up. And then I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't believe that. And then I'll look and realize I'm getting AI results. I'm like, why is this thing going again? So I have to go disable it again. So you got to watch for that. It's almost like they're really trying to force it upon us in so many ways. Well, it's not like they are. That it's just yeah, and I was just watching something last night, and I'd already decided on talking about this. Uh, that was interesting about how the whole AI thing, and especially Google, how it works. And pretty soon now, AI is feeding itself information, and that information can be very bad, like very bad. Like somebody goofing around could have typed in way back here, several years back, how many rocks are safe to eat? And so somebody else types, "Oh, it's safe to put in to eat a 1 to 2 rocks a day." AI picks that up as fact and makes it a fact. So now that's the results you're gonna get saying, "Oh, medical professionals say." No, they don't. They don't. And I'm like, "That is just really disturbing." There was another one like that too, that was something that you should never ingest. And it all started because of maybe a Reddit post that was meant to be a joke. And then AI took that and turned it into fact and puts it out there to people like fact. You cannot trust any results you get. You've got to make sure that you're not getting AI results first and foremost. Secondly, even when you're going to different websites that are outside of the AI thing, you still need to go back to the old school stuff. The websites that have been around for a very long time. That doesn't mean they can't be taken over by AI though. And cross reference everything. And also, coming back to the hard copy books, it's so much easier to look things up online. But if you have some hard copy books on the basic topics, the herbs and what they're good for, how, that might give you some general idea of what's a safe amount that you can at least build upon. Have these things on hand. You don't have to have 50,000 books. Just have a good book of each topic, um, and then start from there. And that way also you'll have that when the information you're looking up online and you're still not sure about it, you at least still have this hard copy book you can refer to, especially if it's an older book. Nothing brand new. I wouldn't trust any new books for information, because unless you know the writer personally, because that information could be AI generated too. AI is doing everything now. They're writing books or writing music, soulless music. It might have a good sound, but it has no soul, just like the AI. And I mean, you got to really be careful, even more so now than ever. And I research stuff. I always try to look at a few different sites at a time and not the same kind of sites. Okay, we can all just go, well, I'm only going to look at just the natural websites because I don't trust the scientific websites and the medical websites because they're very biased. Yes, they are. However, so is the other side. So if you can cross reference, here's the thing you'll find. A lot of people say, I'd never go to a government website to get information on herbs. Why not? Don't assume that everything they have out there is bad, because what they don't tell you, what they don't promote is that, they'll promote all the information they have on there about taking certain injections and how you should do it, but they won't tell you about all the great studies they have on there that is public information about the benefits of lavender or stinging nettle or dandelion leaves for that matter, and how people have been cured of various ailments by taking it. And they have all the dry reading studies laid out as proof. And here's the other reason why this is good is not only is it going to go hand in hand with the natural websites that will back this up, they'll back each other up. It is something you're going to have people on each side of this issue. You're going to have people that will only trust the science and the information coming from this side. Well, if you have that same information from a .gov website that you can share with them, says, "See, here's proof right here." I mean, still won't sell some people, just like you can find the unmentionable topic. You can find a publication on the NIH.gov about a certain unmentionable topic that starts with T that comes from pine and how it was used, and it's called the therapeutic uses or something like that. And it goes back to like the late 1800s, and that you can still find that. It's actually in a downloadable PDF. So you can still find that. It's not banned on there. It's banned on YouTube. Can't talk about it here. But you can have that and the places that are talking about still today the uses of the same substance that's been used for hundreds of years at least. And so if you can show that to people and say, "See, it says right here," the people that will only trust that and not trust maybe the Dr. Axe website or the other websites like that that will have the far more natural approach. And I have found in most cases, especially the trusted websites, like Dr. Axe is I have found to be one of the most trusted in my comparisons of the more health natural side of things. Some of the other ones, like there's a few others I go to that you kind of get the impression they're like Healthline can be good, but they also have a tendency to try to lean towards, yeah, but you should go to a doctor and get on this medication. So you got to kind of watch that stuff. That's why I say compare everything. But it doesn't mean I'm going to throw out all of the information on it from any of these sites because they said this one thing. As long as I can find information from all sources that matches, then that's going to be my solid base. Okay, now I know. Here's the science. Here's where they've done the studies and they've done the, and they show you, they explain how they did these studies, who was involved in the studies, you know, what was used, how it was used, if you want to know all that. And then over here, you can have it in a very more abbreviated, studies show, blah, 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 blah. But sometimes the studies show is not always good enough because you got to know, okay, what are the studies? So having all of that information put together can be very helpful to you and to those that you're sharing it with. This is so important. And so, yeah, don't trust AI, disable AI on all of your devices if you're able to, and just don't ever read it. I mean, I hate now going to Amazon and you're trying to read reviews, and the first thing that pops up is a summary, which in a way is kind of nice, but I'm like, I'm positive this summary was put together by AI. It must be taken all the summary of all of the reviews. And it's like, okay, well, I want to read what the actual people have to say about this or that. So, yeah. And so when it comes to doing research, just make sure you're not trusting the first thing that pops up, even if it is a real person's website and not just AI generated information. And then I was going to say something right along with that. Let me see. Well, let me check my notes. Say, don't stay. I said that. Said that. There was something else that just popped into my brain, and it popped back out again, just like that. It went. It tends to happen a lot. Shoot, it had to do with it. Oh man. Now, even the wisp of what I thought it was, I thought I could grab that little tail of it and pull it back. It's gone now. It's all gone. It might pop back in my brain later. Though I do have to get off here pretty soon. Okay, sorry. Sorry, the quiet, we're not supposed to do that, but I'm reading comments here. Let's see, older book. Yep. Real books. What they don't tell us is just as important or even more so than what they do tell us. Let's see. I don't remember who commented that chickens were lactose intolerant, so I Googled it. It also said that you couldn't can squash because it's too dense. I've been canning squash for years. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to think. AI is no smarter than the person who right. Okay, let me read this. AI is no smarter than the person who programmed the computer's brain. So there's that, and the fact that when you're looking up the information, what AI is doing is grabbing the information from anywhere. It's just like when I was looking up, trying to find out again before I did that video on the 4-jars lids being made in China, because I want to make sure people know this. I'm not against, sometimes there's stuff that I buy that comes from China because I can't find it made in the US or something like that made in the US. I'm not against that. I'm against companies not being fully honest and transparent. So, and Tatler, or not Tatler, sorry, 4-jars really tries to hide the fact that their lids are made in China. So, to the point that when you type in, well, this isn't all their fault, but partially it is. Before I did that video, I wanted to see, okay, maybe they did finally follow through on their promise that they were going to have a factory here in the United States so they can have, back when they first started selling the lids, and you started asking them because you couldn't find any information on where these lids made. Well, we are going to get a factory here in the US soon. That never happened. It's been years now. I realize it takes time to build the funds, but now it's come to a point where they're not even saying that anymore. They're just trying to hide it. So if you go to their webpage and try to find in their FAQ, where are these lids made, and you start reading the answer, if you don't pay attention to what it actually says, you might think it says it's made in the USA. It does not say that. It doesn't even answer the question at all. It's just talking about how people all over the USA love our lids, something like that. So then what happens is AI picks up on that. Oh, they're made in the USA. That's all it picks up. Or it picks up on a little sentence in somebody's blog post over here that the AI might even link back to and say, they're made in the USA. They're not made in China. It actually said that when I was looking it up. But if you actually go to the links where they supposedly gathered this information and you read it, that's not what it says. It says they're not made in the USA. They are made in China. This is why you cannot trust AI. So it's so frustrating to me that, that's the first thing that pops up if you don't have it disabled. And yet I've seen a lot of them be absolute lies. See, I'm switching currently in the process of getting away from 4-jars because they're not fully transparent and truthful. Yeah. And that was my main issue, because I had never heard of them before, but years ago, suddenly out of the blue, got a bunch of these lids. I'm like, what is this place? There was like no information in there, nothing that I could find. And I had to contact them, email them and say, where are these lids even made? Because I think when was that? Well, when I contacted them, they actually did reply truthfully. And then when I looked closer, I don't think I contacted them. I looked around on the box and finally found it in real small print. Okay, these are made in China. All right. Well, then like a year or two later, they sent me more. I never asked for these lids, ever. I never asked for these lids. The newer boxes, it still says made in China, but good luck finding it. Because I knew where it was located on the other box, that was the only reason I was able to find it at all, because it's white on white print, or a very, very, very pale gray on white print and very small, that you really got to have some glasses on and a bright light to be able to see it. And then it doesn't say, and if you look on their website, it is impossible. You cannot find it where they're made. That's what bothers me is like was said, is them not being transparent and even totally deflecting a direct FAQ that they have on their own. FAQs, frequently asked questions, and the question doesn't even get answered. So if you're just skimming it, oh, it says right there USA. Okay. Made in the USA. Great. If you just skimmed it, that's what you would see because USA is in all caps, right? And you're looking for that. Yeah. Read it. If you actually read it, you'll realize it doesn't even answer the question at all. Not at all. That they might have changed it since my video came out a while back on that. Who knows? But they keep trying to hook up with me and I just ignore them. I'm not interested. They even tried to, yeah, I don't know, whatever. I'm just like, no. It's one thing if it at least says on the packaging where I can read it, made in China. Okay, fine. Or if you ask them and they tell you, but if they're going to be dishonest, I'm not interested. Okay, so did I cover all my points on that? I knew that was going to be a faster one. So okay, I'll put my glasses back on so I can read better. Yeah, it's deceitful. Let's see. Personally believe it's fallen angel technology. Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to say anything about that because I have mixed feelings about that thinking. I was kind of getting on board with that, but I'll just leave it at that. I think it's not a bad thing to look into. And I do believe that the wicked one uses everything it can, even the most innocent thing. I mean, this is how churches are so infiltrated. Not all of them. I don't want to paint all churches and even all denominations with a broad stroke, which is the common mistake people make. Just like that person I was sharing earlier about that comment to that woman who's trying to find her son and how horrible that was. But a lot of churches, especially mega churches, anything you're going to see broadcasted on TV, or I mean, not necessarily YouTube, but you know what I mean? Everybody knows the name of that person, or at least a lot of people do. A lot of witchcraft and stuff has entered. I learned enough about, not because I was ever a witch or interested in practicing it, but I kind of looked into it for a short period of time because I kind of wanted to understand what is going on in the churches. What is this book, The Circle Maker, or The Secret, or The Shack? Where are these coming from? And just came across some stuff that was actually written by witches. For example, this whole story of Honi the Circle Maker, who was a Jewish mystic, that whole story was found in a book of witchcraft written by a witch, published years before the guy who wrote The Circle Maker, and used that same story. So, yeah. Anyway, just an example. So yes, I believe this is how a lot of things get infiltrated into various things. And if you're a believer, you're really got to be on guard no matter what it is. It can show up in the most innocent thing. What's the Disney phrase that actually comes from Aleister Crowley's Book of Magic? Just wording slightly changed. Follow your heart. Yep. That's where that comes from. It sounds innocent and wonderful and sweet. Find out where it really comes from. That's not what the Bible tells us to do because the heart is wicked and deceitful. That's what the Bible tells us. Anyway, there was something else that's totally unrelated I wanted to say because in a way it's kind of funny and irritating to me at the very same time. So a lot of you know that I make my own skin cream. And I've been making a s I've been making it for I said 14 years, but I don't know if it's I know we've been off the medication for 14 years. I might have been making the skin cream for 12, but somewhere between 12 and 14 years, okay? So I've been it took me a while to develop the recipe to get the right ratios of beeswax and coconut oil and infused oil, etc. Before I came up with that recipe, I tried making an actual cream for your skin, which is, more like your standard lotion. Because the difference is that it has it oil and water or some kind of watery base. It can be aloe or something that is emulsified. And typically, you'll find those things will absorb into your skin better because you don't have the heavier fats like the coconut oil and the beeswax in there. And I made some, and yeah, it was okay, but the process was messy, and there's no guarantee it's not gonna separate down the road. You gotta, because you have to emulsify these things together. The water, because water and oil don't mix generally, right? And so, yeah, use your blender, and it's just a messy process, and I hated it. And I would say I wasn't really crazy about the results. It was okay. It was a fun project to try. But then from there, I decided I'm going to develop my own recipe that doesn't have anything with water or a kind of water base in it. Because if I want to use aloe, I can go pull a leaf off my plant and use it directly if I need to use it. So yeah, I don't remember how long it took me to get my recipe just right, but I worked on it for a while and I love it. And I've been calling it a skin cream for years. And you know why? It's because that's how I use it. Can it be used as a healing salve? It can, but I won't advertise it like that because it's one of the few things I do sell of those kind of things that I make. It's a skin cream. It's meant to moisturize and protect your skin. So you're probably wondering why is she going on and on about the skin cream? Well, we're almost to the 10-year mark of when I started my channel. And one of my early videos, one of my first videos I put up there was on my skin cream. And I've done a few more videos since because I've perfected my method because I'm always making little changes, finding better ways to do things. But the basic recipe is still the same. There's no water in it. So technically it's a salve. And this is one of the things I think I understand, but not sure I understand about people. But in all the years that people have been watching the videos and making their own skin cream based on my videos or buying a skin cream from me, and I've had repeat thousands of customers over the years. And I've had many repeat customers or ones that tried it and then to decide whether they were going to like it enough to purchase the ingredients to start making their own. And a lot of people that just simply went to right to making their own and loved it. Not one single person had a problem with me calling it skin cream until yesterday. Somebody got a little miffed at me because first they weren't being rude. But it's one of those people that like to come in and just correct you on something and you've never heard about them before or from them or seen them before, and all of a sudden this person comes out of nowhere, and instead of gleaning something from the free video that costs them nothing, they want to correct you. Well, technically, this is a salve, not a skin cream. And I said, well, I call it a skin cream because that's how I use it. And I want people to understand that's how I use it. And then they started getting rude with me. And finally, I just said, what is your intent here? And I realized that this person had a channel, a small channel that they just recently started. And so I almost wanted to ask him, but I don't know. I wonder if their intent is to try to draw people to their channel because they're smarter and better. I'm not sure. Part of the reason I'm bringing it up because that attitude irritates me. I don't mind being corrected on something I'm saying or doing wrong. It's not that. But a lot of times there's an intention there that's not like you guys. I interact with you. Sometimes you guys correct me on things and I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got that wrong." Sometimes I just come out, especially in live. This is what I like about live. I can just ask you guys, okay? And you guys can correct me and I'm like, "Okay, sorry I was wrong on that." And if I find out I'm wrong and I've already done a video, I will do another video where I make sure people know I was wrong. Okay, like the calendula leaves being toxic. I thought years ago when I first started my channel, I thought calendula leaves were toxic because I read it in one place. Again, this is why researching and cross-referencing is important. They're not toxic. And I had somebody corrected me on that. And I'm like, well, I read that somewhere. And they were nice about it, though. You can tell their intention wasn't to try to appear to be smarter and better than me, which I don't try to claim to be smarter and better than anyone because I'm not. I'm still I'm still learning stuff all the time. And sometimes my brain gets a little bit full and it needs to be what's the word? It needs to be detoxed. Flush. Okay. So I'm not above saying, okay, well, okay, maybe she's right. Technically, if you want to get really technical, it's not a skin cream. But you know what? I use it as a skin cream. I'm going to call it a skin cream because that's how it is used. Because I made it mostly to use on my face and throat. But guess what? I use it on my feet. I use it on my hands. Sometimes I use it in my hair. And sometimes see, I always think of a salve. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you. I think of a skin cream as something you use to moisturize your skin and, keep it healthy. I think of a salve as something you use for healing. That's how I've always looked at it. And that's why I call them what I call them. Now, maybe technically I'm wrong. I need to research this, but I don't care. I honestly don't care because I want people to understand this is why I make this and how I use this. And if you want to use it for more than just putting on your face and on your neck and wherever else you need it, fine. I've had people use my skin cream and, buy it for their grandchild or their child who had bad eczema. And I never made any promises about it helping with that. And guess what? It did. And I was amazed when they got back and they were showing me pictures of their little girl and how happy they were with their big smile on their face because their eczema was all healed that they had been battling for so long. Or, the local person, a local lady who had a grandson, same thing. I don't know if it was eczema or some other kind of skin issue, found that my skin cream was the only thing that helped. And again, I don't advertise it as a healing cream. I don't know how it's going to work for other people because that is not why I made it. And then I know somebody else who used it to help heal some blisters on her hand, and she was amazed at how well it worked. That's not why she bought it. She bought it to use as a skin cream. So anyway, I just had to say that. I don't know. I had to get it off my chest because I don't understand sometimes. I mean, I think I do understand. It's a pride thing. Somebody just wants to come in and always be the one that's right. And it's embarrassing when we're wrong and we have to admit that we made a mistake, but I can usually tell by the way things are worded when someone comes into my channel that there's more intention there than just trying to correct me. There's something going on here. And I did ask him, I said, I just don't understand what your intention is here. I said, why is my choice to use this word that important to you? Because then she did get rude. And, anyway, I'm like, I don't care what you call it. I really don't. And they never replied. I was trying to be polite in my last comment. There was so much. I was like, I'm gonna delete. Okay, nope, delete. Okay, let me try this again. Calm down. Okay. So I felt like my last comment, I felt like I wasn't being rude. I just asked him, I guess I'm just don't not understand what your intention is here or why this matters to you so much. So last I seen, they hadn't replied, so they probably gave up. But if they come back and I decided at that point, if they come back and say anything else rude, I'm definitely going to hide them because I think their purpose, because they have a channel that's new, very small, and very much like mine. In fact, suspiciously like mine in the way their thumbnails are laid out. But we can't assume that everything we see is somebody's copying somebody because we all have similar ideas because we might have got them from the same place somewhere else. And then we take it and we make it our own and do our own thing. But it's just a thought. I just wonder. It's like, okay, maybe not. Or maybe she saw my style of thumbnails because the way my style of thumbnails is something I developed on my own. I'm like, okay, I got to find a way where I can have the title in the thumbnail instead of just a picture, but have the title stand out. And it's been a process. And I've seen a couple other people kind of follow that example. And it's like, okay, if they like my style and that suits them, that's cool. I mean, it's not like and maybe somebody else did something similar and I never noticed it. But you know how everybody has their kind of their own style of thumbnail and the way they do it. I like that too, because when you're just skimming through there and you're not trying to read everything, you're looking for a certain style because you're looking for that person's video and you're like, there they are. And you recognize them by the style. Anyway, I know it's kind of silliness, but okay. What's going on in here? You guys behaving? I better check. Do I need to bring the wrench down on anyone? I love your info and your knowledge. Now I don't have exploding mulberry wine. Oh, that's good. Let's see. What do we got here? Sorry guys, the quiet, the dead space. That's what the word I was looking for earlier. No dead space when you're doing a live. This is wrong. This is why I love you and your channel. You are honest and humble. I appreciate that, Deb. Sometimes I don't think I'm as humble as I should be because when I get really irritated about people's comments, I'm thinking maybe I'm not as humble as I need to be because I let myself get too angry. I kind of boom sometimes. See, in need of ideas for sourcing organic chicken without chlorine bath, etc. Air chilled salt bath. Now you've got me questioning. I mean, I could tell you where, aside from our own chickens, because we'll take out the whatever roosters we choose not to keep, we'll take those out and then put them up. But that's not enough chicken to get us through a whole year. I like to get the chicken. I haven't bought whole chicken in a while though because of that. But sometimes you just want the chicken breast, and I've been getting the chicken breast from Butcher Box. And it's supposed to be organic, and this is supposed to be US. Like the Butcher Box beef is all from Australia. It's good beef though. I say it's good. The Australians do a good job on their beef, but it's organic, grass-fed, blah blah blah. But the chicken is from the US and it's supposed to be all organic, free range, etc. But things can change, and so I didn't know anything about chlorine baths. So I don't know. I would have to look into that, but I don't buy as much from Butcher Box as I used to, but I do stock up whenever they do. That's one thing I like about those kind of things is that Butcher Box or even Misfits Market, you can be a member without having to have monthly shipments. So I'll set for Butcher Box, I'll set my next shipment out like 6 months. If I decide I need something sooner, I'll push it back. If it's starting to get closer to that and I'm like, I still don't need anything, I'll push it out farther. But they recently had like a sale on ground beef. So I got a bunch of that. And that's one thing I've looked into Good Chop and some of the others, but there's the thing I don't like about, unless they've changed it yet, was Good Chop. What's the other one? Good Ranchers or something Ranchers. And that's all US. But the thing I don't like about those is you can't customize each box according to what you need. You got to just select one style, and that's what it always is. Or you can do that with Butcher Box. You can switch it up anytime. But yeah, that's where I get chicken breasts. In fact, that's what I got to do next. I got some thawing out. I'm going to marinate it to grill tonight. And I always do a whole bunch at once because whatever doesn't get eaten right away, I'll use it in other dishes. It's the marinated grilled chicken breast is really good. Let's see, I bought organic chicken from a store sale, was disappointed to find the cooling used chlorine water bath. Huh. I didn't know that there was such a thing. Let's see. Deb says we raise meat birds once a year to fill our freezer. Yeah, if we had if we had the space here for that quantity of chickens, right now I have 20. I have 20 chickens right now, and that's only because I've got the young ones. The 4 hens out of that, I've got 4 hens, 4 pullets, and the newest ones. 4 of them are pullets, and so there's 9 of them. Yeah, 4 pullets and 5 cockerels. And so, but one of the cockerels I might keep, so that means there's the other 4 will become, go into the freezer. And they're not huge because they're not meat birds, but I can't remember if I have one more in there from last year. I might, but I think we did 5 last year. Yeah, because I had 6. I gave one to someone who needed a rooster, and then the other 5 we butchered. And I can take even one, and we butchered them kind of young because I needed to get them gone because they were going through so much feed, and I needed it. It was getting loud and obnoxious in the backyard. So I could take one of those small birds and stretch it into a lot of meals, like a lot. I was amazed because usually the chickens you buy that are meat birds, they've got so much more meat on them. And I'm like, I'm not expecting to get as much from it, but I managed to do it. And I'm like, wow, it's even just these one small non-meat bird chicken, the meat went a long way. So I'm pretty happy with that. And it was good. Let's see. I see a rabbit trail. I think 2 of our chicks are cockerels. Yay. If so, they are Jeremiah's chicks. Oh, nice. Nice. Finding out about air chilled versus chlorine was another whole issue. I can't keep up. I tell you, Tanya, no kidding, right? Every time you think you kind of got something figured out, all of a sudden you learn something new. And there does come a point where it's like, okay, I cannot constantly live in fear of every food. I just got to do the best I can. It's like the people, like every time on any video where I'm talking about some kind of green, some kind of vegetable, eventually there will be somebody or several somebodies. Oh, these are high in oxalates, or the beets. Yeah, I got that on the beets. The one about the beetroot powder. Oh, it's high in oxalates. Okay, I don't care what they're called. You guys know what I mean. And it's like, really, this used to never be a big fear. Okay, yes, I understand. Just like with gluten intolerance, we have a lot of people now that are gluten intolerant. And so they got to be careful. You got a lot of people who are diabetic, so they got to be careful when it comes to the sugars and hidden sugars. And now you got people that have sensitivities to whatever it's called, oxalates, oxalates. I got called a moron because I didn't say it the right way, and now I don't remember which one it is. Whatever. You know why? It's because I'd only seen it written, not heard. So I got in the habit of saying it one of those 2 ways, and now I don't know which one's right. But some people have to be careful. But that doesn't mean the whole world should stop eating their vegetables, even raw. Though, yes, it's best if some of them are cooked. Anyway, I just get so tired. It gets almost depressing where it's like every food now somebody is demonizing over something, and some of it's just flat out silly, but some of it's like if it's any food that you're purchasing from the store, even if it's organic and farm raised and free range and blah blah blah, it's like, does it really mean what I think it means? You keep using that word, but I don't think it means what you think it means. That applies to me too. You don't know anymore. And it's like, I just can't even. So yeah, they're only bad if you have an issue. Exactly. But it's just everybody on everything, you're trying to talk about the benefits and the good stuff here. Yeah, but blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay. People who have okay. Typically people who have issues with gluten or are diabetic are going to be smart enough to know these are what they need to watch out for, so they're going to learn about it. We don't have to put people down for eating lamb's quarters, okay? Okay? That grows free, and I've got it coming up everywhere in my greenhouse this year. It's like, okay, I don't want it in my greenhouse, but I'll let it grow in other places, obviously, because it's good, healthy stuff. And I like it better than spinach personally, and it grows better here than spinach. So, oh, Patrick's on the roof. I'm like, what am I hearing? What is that thumping? Who's walking around? He's up there doing some repair work. Let's see, found files in my organic salad mix. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I tell you what, that's the other thing too. I've seen a lot of those videos of people just ending up with weird food or weird things or nasty things in their food, especially anything that's bagged. Oh my goodness. Or they buy fresh stuff. You think you're doing good, right? You get what was it, a fresh banana and it was like rubber? Or the avocado that was like rubber? I are those real? Are people just doing that for clicks, or people, because I'm seeing a lot of these. It's like, are these real? I don't even know anymore. Are people just making all this up and buying fake food and then making you think they bought this in the produce section? I don't know. I can't trust anything. Oh, here's another quick thing I got to share. So, along the lines of AI and another side issue that I don't know, maybe I'll do a separate video on this too, but I got to share this real quick because this happened yesterday. So there was a fire, another real event that happened locally. Some car caught on fire, and our firefighters, my son is the fire chief, I got to say that. And they had to show up and put the fire out. Well, so our local paper, we don't have much of a newspaper anymore. It's kind of now just online. They put a post about this incident with a picture of the fire and the firefighters. I think one of them was my son, but to be honest, when firefighters are in their uniform, they all look the same to me. I can't. It's like, is that my son or is that one my son? I don't know. I can't tell. You can never see their faces, or and they got the big bulky stuff on, so it's hard to tell. But anyway, my son's name was in there because he's the fire chief, and it shows this car just in flames. Now, keep in mind, we've had a lot of rain. We live in rain country. It's very wet here. And so the foliage around was still very green. And so somebody happened to see the post, somebody that lives in Washington State but doesn't live here, from our local newspaper doing a local story and say, oh, this is AI. This has to be AI because none of the stuff around is burnt. And it's like, no, excuse me. This is a real event with real people. I'm sure my son, the fire chief, who was mentioned in this article, would tell you otherwise. And then, of course, a whole bunch of other locals were coming in and saying, Yeah, I was there. I saw it. And I know so and so was there and they saw it. And I mean, and I did get a little mean on this one, but it's like, though we shouldn't be so stupid to believe everything we see is real these days because you can't tell anymore. The videos are getting better. The ads are still bad. It's like, this is AI, come on. But there's a lot of AI generated videos that are getting really hard. They're getting much harder to tell the difference. And AI generated images, it's getting harder and harder. And eventually it's going to be, you won't be able to know the difference at all. But you know what's just as stupid is to assume everything you see is fake too. So this is where learning how to do a little research and find out before you open your mouth and look like a complete moron to the whole public is important. All this person had to do was take time to read through some of the comments of the people that were talking about, oh yeah, so and so said blah blah blah. And it was, I mean, it's obvious it was a real event, right? But somebody decided they wanted to get in there and say, oh, this has got to be AI. No, it's not. Not everything you see is fake, just like not everything you see is real. We can take two different extremes here. Just be careful. That is all. Oh, I tell you, that seems like an oxymoron. Eat healthy, but not garden food. Wait, where did that come from? Oh, because of what I was talking about, like the what was I just saying? The lamb's quarters. And that's something that grows wild. Just about anybody can grow lamb's quarters without having to try. It appeared in my garden one day, and I'm like, I don't think I knew what it was right away, but I found out shortly after. And I'm like, oh, I think it was shortly after that Stacy had actually done a video about lamb's quarters. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay. It was somewhere around that same time. So I was glad to learn that, and then did a little research on it myself and started using it. And it's another good one to add to your mixed greens. So, yeah. But anyway, I really should get going. I think I might have some more stuff I want to transplant today. Oh, Patrick built me another trellis because I'm hoping these cucumbers I'm trying this year will actually grow outside of the greenhouse. I'm really hoping they look like they might be okay, because I want all of that space in the ground in the greenhouse for my tomatoes. I don't want to sacrifice for my cucumbers like I usually do, that then grow up and all over everything in there and then shade out the tomatoes. So, yeah, so I've been a little out of time. I did just get the last one planted out. So, I'm really hoping. These are called a green apple cucumber. Never tried them, never heard of them before. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of them, but I think I got the seeds from. Did I maybe I didn't get them from Azure. Maybe I got them from another site, another place, like on Etsy. Every once in a great while, I'll look on Etsy for something specific if I can't find it on at Azure, because they're still kind of new at getting into selling seeds on Azure standards, so they don't have as many. So I don't remember if it was there. Oh, no, it was from the place I got the when I was looking for dragon tongue beans. I got those, and I got the French horticulture beans, and I wanted to see what else they had. I think it was an Etsy shop. And I thought, ooh, green apple cucumber. That sounds interesting. I should try that. So I think what I can tell so far, these are doing better outside than any cucumber I've tried outside in the past. Before, they'd always just, oh, we don't like the cold and the rain. So much rain, so much cold. It could be also too that I waited longer to put them out than I had in the past. So we'll see. I'm pretty excited though. I'm hoping and praying they work out. Anyway, for reals, people, you got to go. I got to go. We all got things to do. We have lives. We're busy people. We have gardens and or chickens, and or even if we don't have all that, we got stuff, man. So anyway, I guess that's it. So I hope you guys all have a great week, and thanks for coming in and taking your time to just hang out with me, listen to me rant and share your own thoughts and ideas. So anyway, take care. and God bless all. Bye.